Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. Got another Master Duel video for you. It's time for another edition of This Week in Master Duel, wherein week by week we cover everything that's been happening in the game, whether it be here in client, some leaks and rumors that have not been officially announced yet, and then as always we'll go ahead and take a look at some of the tournament results from the week so we can see what the tournament metagame has been like and how all of the current top decks are faring. So, as I mentioned, I normally do like to start here in client with any in-game notifications, but we actually haven't really had any since the last update for This Week in Master Duel. Last time we covered the new accessories, the new structure deck and pack, that all coincided with the Fusion and Xyz Festival, which is just about wrapping up at this current point in time. This is usually about the time of the month where it's a little bit of a lull in terms of what's happening in Master Duel, right? The event is over. We haven't had an official announcement of the next selection pack, but we'll be talking a little bit about what will very likely be in that pack here in a moment. And yeah, we're wrapping up the current event, so we don't have any real news as far as that goes here. So yeah, in that regard, again, not too much happening here in game. So not going to really be spending any more time here in Master Duel. Instead, I'm going to go ahead and pop over to Master Duel Meta, and we'll actually talk about the OCG Bane List here in a moment. I do think that is at least somewhat relevant to Master Duel here, and I do want to cover that. But first, I want to cover some more unconfirmed leaks for the next selection pack here in Master Duel. So we've already had 2 rounds of leaks, right? The first being Rescue Ace, and then after that was the second wave of Kashtira support. And it's looking like the newest wave of Gishki support will actually end up being our next and final theme for this pack. The selection packs always have 3 themes, and then some kind of random assortment of you know, non-archetypal new cards that are coming into the game. So it's looking like Rescue Ace, Kashtira, and then Gishki are going to be our 3 themes for this pack, which is actually going to make for a pretty good selection pack because we all probably by this point know that the Kashtira support is of course looking to be not just good, but probably just the best new deck once it comes out. Rescue Ace, it depends if we get the second wave in addition to the first, or I guess what all waves of support we're going to get, but there's a decent chance that Rescue Ace will be playable as a meta contender out the gate. And the Gishki support will actually coincide very nicely with sprites. Let's actually look at these support cards here. So Gishki Grimness, is a level 2 water fish. That says if you ritual summon exactly 1 water ritual monster with a card effect that requires use of monsters, this card can be used as the entire tribute. This is definitely not the only Gishki monster that has this effect, but of course it is always nice to have more main deck monsters that can serve as the entire ritual fodder. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can special summon 1 Gishki monster from your deck, except Gishki Grimness. Also, you can only declare attacks with ritual monsters until the end of this turn. You can only use this effect of Gishki Grimness once per turn. So that's actually a really, really good restriction because it doesn't matter on turn 1. It doesn't matter at all for your turn 1 plays, right? The restriction that you can only attack with ritual monsters will only really apply turns 2 and forward. So yeah, it's pretty easy to see how this can help with you know, sprites and Gishkis kind of being mashed into the same deck, right? There are definitely level 2 Gishki monsters besides Grimness, and in fact, one of our best targets is a level 2 monster. If I look up Gishki here, yeah, Gishki Abyss is going to be pretty much what you always summon off of Grimness and a lot of these other support cards we're going to see here. The Gishki Abyss is a monster, a level 2 monster most importantly, that lets you add a Gishki monster with 1,000 or less defense from your deck to your hand when it's summoned. That can be normal or special summon, and you'll also note that it's not once per turn. So we're going to be able to get multiple searches with that. We can go Grimness into the, what's the card? I just looked it up here. The Abyss, yep. As far as the new ritual monster goes, we have Evagishki Naramanas. This is a level 10 water spellcaster with 3,000 attack, 1,800 defense. You can ritual summon this card with any Gishki ritual spell. If this card is ritual summoned, you can target 1 water monster in your graveyard, special summon it. Cannot be destroyed by battle if a monster is special summoned from the extra deck. Once returned, when your opponent activates a monster effect, as a quick effect, you can return 1 Gishki ritual monster you control to the hand, and if you do, negate the activation, and if you do that, shuffle into the deck. So pretty easy to see why this is good. It's a pretty solid boss monster to go into on turn 1. 3k attack, definitely not anything to sneeze at. It extends you when you summon it on turn 1 by bringing back a water monster to use as a material. It's got a destruction by battle protection effect, which is kind of like, you know, not the most relevant, but definitely not irrelevant by any means. As extra deck monsters are going to be often, a lot of the ways your opponent's going to try to run this over if they try to do it by battle. But most importantly, we do also have the monster negate effect. Note that the monster effect does not have to activate on the field or any one place in particular. It does not matter where the monster effect activates. You can bounce, I mean, it'll bounce itself, the Naramonus will bounce itself 99% of the time, but it can bounce itself to not only negate that effect, but shuffle the card into the deck, which is also very relevant. So, yeah, just overall a great card for the archetype. Focused Aquamirror is going to be the last support card. I think there's actually 4, not 3, but Focused Aquamirror is a normal spell. Add 1 Gishki monster from your deck to your hand. During the end phase, if you control a water ritual monster, you can banish this card from your graveyard. Set 1 Aquamirror spell or trap card directly from your deck or graveyard except Focused Aquamirror. You can only use this effect of Focused Aquamirror once per turn. So, yeah, I think there is actually one other new support card. Yeah, it's the Gishki Necromirror, but to be fair, from what I've seen, Gishki Sprite doesn't really use it that often. But as far as the, the Focused Aquamirror, obviously being able to Rhoda for any of these Gishki monsters, very, very good, including the new Grimness. You can Rhoda for the Grimness with the Focused Aquamirror, and then as said before, you can use Grimness to special summon the Gishki Abyss. That'll add a Gishki monster from your deck to your hand. You can then link it to Sprite Elf, summon the Gishki Abyss again, get another add. You can use the ritual monster and spell that you added, you know, one of each of, because you got 2 searches off of the Gishki Abyss to go into the Naramonus. The Naramonus can bring back the Abyss again for a 3rd search. So with Gishki Sprite, you're just going to be getting like 3 searches off of that 1 Abyss per turn. Pretty insane, pretty wild. So I'm honestly, you know, I mean, you know me, Sprite's my favorite archetype. So I'm definitely looking forward to trying out a new Sprite archetype. And, yeah, I mean, Gishkis, I think, in general, are just a cool deck. So, very much looking forward to this leaked archetype. So, the next thing we're going to talk about, as I mentioned before, is actually not something that is directly related to Master Duel, but I want to briefly go over the OCG's latest Forbidden Limited list, because there are some changes in here that might prove to be relevant for Master Duel. Because this is the OCG, this is not a Master Duel ban list, this is an OCG ban list. I'm going to gloss over a lot of the changes, like, you know, Armageddonite 2-3 is not relevant to us. Super Heavy Samurai, we haven't even seen the wave of support that makes this relevant. I will say Trickstar, Light Sage, and Prank Kids and Meow Meow Moo could definitely come back to 3 in Master Duel as well, and it would be totally fine. Rescue Ace we haven't seen yet. Pearly Delicious Memory did go from 3 to 2 in the OCG, and it's at 1 in the TCG. I could definitely see a world where Delicious and or Sleepy Memory end up being the cards that are hit from Pearly, but that's going to be quite a ways off, as of course the deck is still very, very new to Master Duel. Interesting that they're starting to limit some amount of Floodgates in the OCG rivalry, going from 3 to 2. Girsu is at 3 in Master Duel and the TCG. Don't know why they're only just now putting it from 1 to 2. I think the same is true of Dark Worm as well. Dragonic Diagram. Hey, I didn't realize that the flow map actually went from 1 to 2. That's awful nice of them. Tier Limits Kashtira going from 3 to 1. This particular OCG Bane list hit a lot of Kashtira, or not Kashtira, a lot of Tier Limits support, because Tier Limits actually still a pretty popular deck over in the OCG there. But Tier Limits Kashtira, which is a card that we're probably going to be getting in the next selection pack, but don't have yet, just went to 1 over there. Though it is a Kashtira card, it definitely does help the Tier Limits archetype more. But honestly, I am kind of doubtful that it'll fix Kashtira's, or I keep saying Kashtira when talking about this card. I'm honestly pretty doubtful it'll fix Tier Limits issues in Master Duel, which right now is not having enough user names. And this card, while it does allow you to mill more, it does not offer a 3rd fuser. So does that really solve, I think, a lot of the problems that Tier Limits are going to be having here in Master Duel? They just put Black Dragon from 2 to 1. As you can see, this is now OCG is the only format where Black Dragon is legal. Agito and Kelbeck both got banned over there. Rangaminad got banned, and Chaos Ruler. No, Chaos Ruler! This is one of my favorite monsters, and now it's banned in both the TCG and OCG. There is always the chance that this could end up being like some other cards. I know Sprite Elf is one of them. I don't think is Anaconda legal in the OCG? Regardless, there are some amount of cards that are banned in both TCG and OCG, but legal in Master Duel. I'm really hoping Chaos Ruler stays that way because this card was definitely hit in the OCG as a tier limits hit, but as we've seen so far, like, you know, the existence of Chaos Ruler is definitely not doing tier limits any favors here in Master Duel. In Master Duel, it kind of seems that, you know, it doesn't really matter how much ability to mill you have. If you only are able to use 2 fuser names instead of 3 in a turn, that's actually a huge detriment to the deck. So I don't know, maybe I'm just inhaling a lot of copium right now because I really fucking love this card. It's like quite literally my favorite extra deck monster right now. But yeah, this is the main thing I wanted to talk about here. I mean, a lot of stuff here, but again, we're seeing a lot of really aggressive hits towards tier limits in this OCG ban list, but with Merly banned in Master Duel and tier limits not really doing much of anything relevant since then, I don't know that we'll need all of these hits. Again, I'm just really hoping that Chaos Ruler doesn't get touched. I'm really hoping they leave her alone, but we'll have to see. So, yeah, here's all the changes kind of like summarized here. Again, this is not for Master Duel. This is for the OCG. But the OCG ban list is definitely a lot more relevant to Master Duel than the TCG list. We'll have to keep looking forward to the future to see if any of these changes look like they're going to be making their way into our game. So, okay, I think that covers pretty much all of the, like, news. Again, it's been a pretty slow week for Master Duel as far as news goes, which about this time of the month usually tends to be the case. So, let's go ahead and pop on over to some tournament results. Going to start with the Decade Meta Weekly. I'm actually going to start with a sip of water real quick as we look at this pie chart for the Decade Meta Weekly. Looks like Pearly, Dragon Link, Labyrinth, Sword Soul, all doing at least a little bit better than the other decks here. Yeah, I mean, that all makes sense to me, right? These are definitely 4 of the top contenders of the current meta, so it makes sense to see them all up here in this place above all the other decks, although that's in terms of quantity of top 16 lists. Let's see what actually ended up winning. Looks like it was Tri-Brigade Lear list, which kind of snuck in here. This is actually something that I see a lot in the Decade Meta Weeklies. I mean, in tournaments in general, but especially the Decade Meta Weeklies. And I think it's because it's a best of 3 single elim with no side decking, which honestly, I think best of 3 no side decking is the way to go. Best of 3 is, of course, always more skillful than best of 1. But I think side decking with the current pool of cards, it completely makes the games 2 and 3 super uninteresting. Like, it really just comes down to if you go second, you side in Board Breakers. If you go first, you side in Floodgates. It's super boring. I kind of hate it, but anyway, one thing that I've noticed a lot in particularly the Decade Meta Weeklies, but in tournaments in general, is like when it comes to the pie chart, you know, the top 16 breakdown, like, yeah, we tend to see more of the meta decks than anything else, but if you look at what actually wins these tournaments, it's very often like a non-meta deck, which really goes to show, and this is something that I've always said, right? When it comes to, should I pick a deck I know better or a deck that is better, you should always pick decks you know better, because you're far more likely to see success on that front than if you played, like, you know, if you know Tri-Brigade Learlisk very well and you've been playing it since the beginning of the game, but you've only just started playing Pearly this week and you're not really too sure how the plays go, you should definitely be playing Tri-Brigade Learlisk in tournaments and not Pearly, in my opinion. I think that knowledge of a particular deck definitely supersedes that deck's position in the meta. To a point, there is, of course, diminishing returns in that regard, but I think to a point that is absolutely the case. But anyway, yeah, it was Tri-Brigade Learlisk that ended up winning with, again, you're seeing Thunder Dragons here coming in second. It is not the most powerful meta dex, but is the one that I'm assuming anyway, the player knows best. That is seeing a lot of success here. Sword Soul making top 4 here. Not really seeing anything too out of the ordinary as far as like tech goes. This Pearly deck was rocking a set of Rare Arthals, which I think is pretty interesting, but let's see, you got Lab here in top 8. Here is Dragon Link running the Red Eyes package. Red Eyes package definitely seems to be becoming more and more popular as time goes on with Dragon Link. I think next time I cover the deck, I'll probably end up covering the Red Eyes package here. Got another Dragon Link list here. This one is 45 cards as opposed to the 60 that this one was. Let's see. Snapshot here on Lab. Relatively standard Lab list. Oh, here we go. Here is a Scareclaw, Adventure Scareclaw. I think we've seen, if not this person, this deck top the DK Meta Weekly before. So, yeah, cool to see Adventure Scareclaw, seeing a little bit more action there. Got Naturia Runic for top 16, attacking Herald of the Abyss against Pearly, of course. I think, too, like, normally I would advise playing against playing side deck cards like Herald of the Abyss, like, in your main deck. But, again, we got to remember that this tournament structure was best of 3, no side decking. So, in that regard, I can definitely see the need to main deck some side deck cards there. Pearly with a Dark World engine here. Got a Sword Soul list. Looks very standard there. Oh, this is Mayakashi, which actually saw a top 16 success here. Just a straight up pure Mayakashi deck, which is pretty rad. Nice to see that do well. Saucy Senpai! Saucy Senpai with the 60 card Twin Sprite Synchro deck, once again getting top 16. Saucy Senpai is a champion of the people, or at least of me anyway. So, -1 topping with Pearly. -1, I recognize this name. I think I have played against -1 in... I don't know if I've played against them, but I think I've seen them around in the MCS. The name looks familiar, so with the Winter Cherries here. Got a Punk. This is Cash Punk. Wow, main decking 3 deck lockdown. Holy shit. That's quite the tech there. Again, when you're playing in a best of 3 with those side decks, it's also single limb. You do have to often main deck cards like these, but wow, that's quite the tech there. Cool stuff, and that's gonna go ahead and do it for this DK Meta Weekly. Excuse me. All right, so here we have the Temkara Master of Duel Season 2. We've covered this tournament series before. This is actually the Arabic Community Tournament Series, which I'm always eager to see because, one, there's a lot of players here, and two, it's always nice to see results from a part of the world we don't always get to see results from. So this was, I believe, yeah, this was a best of 3 where they did have side decking here. So let's see what ended up doing well. Dragon Link looks like got the first place spot there on a 43 card build. Sword Soul Tenyi following it up here. Relatively standard build there. Despia, 40 cards. Pretty standard list here. And, oh, see, that's really weird that, like, for this list, I guess it's whatever the tournament, you know, organizers provide. But here, you know, we're seeing a tournament that's, like, as big, if not bigger than the DK Meta Weekly. I don't remember how big the DK Meta Weekly. Yeah, it was even bigger. But rather than top 16, we only see the top 4 lists. A little disappointing. I would have liked to have seen more lists, but it is what it is. So, Whitey Victory Cup. Looks like this is a relatively new tournament series. Single elim, best of 3 with a 15-card side deck. Had 64 players. It's a decent bit there. Once again, we're seeing the 60-card Dragon Link iteration with the Red Eyes package taking first place. Yeah, another Dragon Link list. This one more of a 40-card list taking second. Lab coming up in third with a pretty standard list. Nothing too out of the ordinary going on there, looks like. Another Lab list here. It's got the Kurikara... Is that... Yeah, Kurikara Divine Carnet. But, I mean, that's becoming more and more standard as, you know, Pearly is definitely cementing itself in the meta. So, yeah, it looks like Dragon Link and Lab swept up pretty nicely in this tournament here. And the last tournament results we're going to take a look at for this week. These are going to be the results from Master Cup number 12. They got a little breakdown here. Looks like Dragon Link, Naturia Runic, Lab, Pearly. Standard stuff we would expect to see doing well. I'm actually a bit surprised that Naturia Runic as a whole isn't, like, performing at least a little bit better in the current metagame. I don't know. I don't know if it's a lack of interest in the deck or if it's really just not that well poised in the meta. I don't know. I actually haven't played Naturia Runic myself in quite some time, so maybe it is an overall lack of interest that I'm also experiencing. Who knows? But looks like we had Dragon Link winning yet again. I think How Fast won another tournament over here, didn't they? Or am I just... or not, maybe not one, but tops, maybe? I don't know. But we are seeing another 60-card Dragon Link list with the Red Eyes package doing very well here. Code Talker Mathmech coming in second place here. seems to be pretty good here. Lab taking 3rd/4th. Relatively standard. One of the Nature Area Runic lists. This one mating 3 Herald of the Abyss like the last one did, I believe. So, the last one we saw anyway. More Dragon Link doing pretty well here. Here is a For Hire Runic Sprite deck. Seeing a good bit of success there, so that's pretty rad. And then, yet again, another Scareclaw. Oh, this one is Scareclaw Kashira, though, as opposed to Scareclaw Adventure, it looks like, so. Oh, yeah, and then I saw this in the breakdown. I was forgetting if we'd actually see the deck list for it, but yeah. Tearlament Goaty doing very well as well, which is cool to see, so. And I think that top comment there actually pointed out, yeah, no Pearly in the top 8 for this particular tournament. So, even though Pearly does look like it's the best deck overall in the meta, that does not necessarily always mean that it is guaranteed to win or top 8 tournaments. Indeed, as I said before, it seems that we are often seeing the lists that are less used but more well known by the pilot. That are doing well. So that's going to go ahead and do it for this week in Master Duel. Everyone, thank you so much for tuning in this week. Let's go ahead and just move straight on to our outro. Alright everybody, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you for watching it all the way to the very end. That means a whole lot to me, and it's also a fantastic way to support the channel. And if you're interested in supporting the channel in other ways besides YouTube, there are plenty of ways to do that. If you check out the description below, you'll find a bunch of links down there. One of them goes to my Patreon. You're actually seeing the names of everyone subscribed to the Patreon on the screen right now. So if you're interested in getting your name in the credits here at the end, if you want to see more daily Master Duel content, or if you're interested in one-on-one private coaching sessions, I offer all of that on Patreon. I also stream live on Twitch. Feel free to go ahead and click that link and follow and or subscribe there. I also have the Discord community, if you want to follow that link, where hundreds of duelists have already signed up. Free to join, and you can just come hang out, talk about the game, and chill in general. Final link that's going to be in the description is my Twitter. You can follow that if you want some more notifications of what's happening with the channel. So, all in all, thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you have a fantastic day.